Alright, let's get this show started, huh?
Shall we dance?
Shall we dance?
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Oh, man, you're showing your age if that's your Batman.
Oh, no, hey, I just watched the new Justice League Dark, and that's my new Batman. What's his name? Michael O'Hara.
Justice League Dark?
O'Hara. Yeah.
I don't know
this
what you're talking
the
about.
There's a whole DC animated universe. They've got 7 films in the series.
Oh, DC.
You're going to tell me that... All right, DC Extended Universe is live action. DC Universe, without the word extended, is a reference to the branding of all of Warner Brothers Animation Studios' feature-length films with, The Flash, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and in Justice League Dark, who shows up? Swamp Thing, Zatanna, the Magician, John Constantine himself, voiced by the guy from the now defunct NBC Constantine show.
Okay.
The original actor, it's so good. And who else shows up? Surprise, Deadman, Black Orchid, really cool characters in Justice League Dark. So I just watched that Blu-ray. It was pretty good.
So why don't they make a animated universe for Tolkien?
They could, if they license it.
Who has those rights?
Do you know? The Tolkien Enterprises, our friends who have the rights to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, could grant a license with appropriate negotiation and with the right kind of studio backing up with financial interest and with infrastructure to really get the animation done right. Then who knows, The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings could be redone in a whole new stylistic way through animation. It could be that way anytime.
So does that mean Warner Brothers Animation would have to do it?
They'd be first on the list, I'm sure. Warner Brothers feature animation would be first in line, I'm sure.
Okay.
To have access to those negotiations for that license. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the OneRing.net.
Hey, Kaylin Griffin says, are you guys all right with the fires?
Yeah, there's no fires near me. We're in the middle of metropolitan Los Angeles. The devastation is real, but it's all in other far-flung different places around the state, but nowhere near in the, metropolitan LA. We're just in the middle of the city. Now, what's going on here? I'm looking for that chat room up there, and Justin's just disappeared into the control room. Welcome, everybody. The OneRing.net is trying to get that chat stream up. It's an interactive show, so we encourage all of you folks to watch us in the 360-degree smell-o-vision. That's what that is. It's 360-degree smell-o-vision. You can actually smell what it's like. If you're watching on Facebook Live, then you have the advantage of looking in this magic window, and you can rotate that camera around. You can look all the way around if it's working. You get a 360-degree view. Hey, there's all of the chatters in our Ustream chat. Hello, everyone. There's Mithril Moon, Sarah Vorhauer. Hello, Sarah. There's a Mithril Moon there too. Janessa, good to see you. Ravandi, lovely. And Treehouse 31. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Clifford Broadway. This invisible person sitting here on my right-hand side, he's wearing a ring, and as soon as he takes that invisible ring off, we will see Justin Sewell joining us again. There he is. Ta-da! Took the ring off. Hey, wow.
I did take the ring off.
A little more caution from you. That is no trinket you carry. Okay, sorry. Had a little Viggo Mortensen blowout there. But hello, everybody. This is the live show. You see that number floating above our heads? 530-64 FRODO. That's our hotline. 530 number 6 number 4 FRODO.
People don't really understand how big California is. So the fires going on right now are north of San Francisco. In fact, you go across the Golden Gate Bridge, and then you're in that wine country above San Francisco.
That's right.
Where we are right now in Hollywood at Meltdown Comics, we are 6 hours from San Francisco.
Quite a drive.
So we are 7 to 8 hours from where the fires are right now. So we are so far away.
We are quite
safe.
Safe.
Wait, how long would it take to drive across Scotland?
Okay.
3 hours?
There you go. Maybe that.
How long would it take?
With fair weather.
How long would it take to drive north and south all of England? 7 hours?
Let's use Google Maps.
You
and
guys
see what
in
it
the
is.
chat room, tell us how long it would take to
To
drive
across.
north
We have a lot of
to south.
We've got a lot
And
of
so,
English viewers watching us tonight.
Let's just figure that out. Sarah says that Anaheim's having a fire too. Again, that's like 2 hours
Yep.
east,
Anaheim,
southeast.
Anaheim is 2 hours southeast. On a bad day, 3 hours drive.
Yeah.
Down there. And that's
Disneyland
really
is
shocking.
covered in smoke right now.
But you see, when
so
he's
it's nowhere near Hollywood. We don't even see the smoke.
We see nothing.
We see nothing. We have blue sky
We
everywhere.
had our bad fires a few weeks ago. We had our La Tuna Canyon fire, which is right next to us here at Burbank. It was really close by. But what's interesting is that you mentioned how big the state of California is. And of course, it's true that you should point that out, Sarah, that Anaheim is so far distant by many hundreds of miles from the other, fires that are on the other end of the state. So yeah, there's a lot of space in between all these blazes, but the destruction is fearsome. I've seen photos of the houses in the neighborhoods just razed to the ground.
In the whole neighborhoods.
Yeah, I've seen whole neighborhoods.
So the question is, was
It's like
there
Smaug had a joyride, just went through the whole place.
Well,
It's terrible.
that's what I was gonna get at. What was in Mordor before Sauron started gaining power, and did Sauron's resurgence destroy a bunch of existing settlements on that side of the mountain and that side of the gate?
Tolkien doesn't say anything about other settlements, but what Tolkien says about Sauron settling in that area was because it was a well-defended space that, because of the natural topography of the land, the mountains, and because of the volcanism in the plateau where the volcano, where Orodruin was, that was a natural geological fenced area, and there was according to the Atlas of Middle-earth, which we have here, Karen Wynne Fonstad gives us some insights into dry land farming that they have down there in the lower ends of Mordor. The way that the artists and the people making the video game Shadow of Mordor and now Shadow of War, they have given us like a full-on view of a much greener, verdant, plant-filled, areas of Mordor. And you have to think that plateau of Gorgoroth, which is the northwest quadrant, which is up on that high plateau, that volcanic plateau, there's a different geology than many other hundreds of square miles of land. That is where he would have to have crops. The dude was raising armies. He had to feed the armies of orcs.
Right.
So yeah, there was arable land down in the eastern and southern areas of Mordor, and there was an inland sea that was allegedly very saline. The Sea of Nirn, allegedly saline, and that was also there in the area called Nirnen. And it's like, you get to explore that in the Shadow of War game in a way that Tolkien does not describe full on. I mean, they're just taking poetic license to explore this.
But is there any hint that these were settled lands?
Nope.
So we don't know.
There was no hint.
There was no hint for or against.
Nope, neither way.
Okay.
So no supposition could be made.
When was the Black Gate created?
Ooh, I gotta look that up. The Black Gate was built and created, Sauron. Let me look that up. Hey, where's my tablet? I'm gonna get my tablet so I can look that up.
So that's the big question. Is like, I want to know,
when
all
Sauron
these fires
left Dol Guldur, when the time of the Hobbit was happening, before the War of the Ring, the Black Gate and the Tower of Barad-dûr had been, a place of great interest, where Sauron was all those centuries ago. Remember when he made the ring? It was centuries and centuries and centuries ago, and he was inhabiting Mordor then as well.
So the Black Gate is very old.
Tolkien does make a specific mention somewhere of when the Black Gate was first built. And
I mean, everyone in Middle-earth must know about the Black Gate, and it must be very old because they all go to. That's their first place to go toward, the Black Gate. That's where Frodo and Sam first try to go, and then that's where Aragorn, the king, takes.
All roads lead to the Black Gate. The Morannon.
Hey, there's a good question in the chat room. Orcs mainly ate meat, correct?
Yep.
No.
Yeah, they could.
No, they didn't mostly eat meat. Meat is a very intensive, crop-intensive, like you got to feed the cows. Like
there are racks of meat in the Return of the King Extended Edition where Frodo and Sam are in the orc army camps, struggling to hide in their little orc costumes and make sure the other orcs don't see who they are. But there's this one evil guy who comes up and he's like, "Run!" He comes at them because he's like, those guys aren't orcs. And then all of a sudden a fight breaks out, right? Because Sam starts a fight. Well, you'll see racks of meat hanging everywhere in every scene.
But we know they ate bread and
rotten, gross meat. But
if there was arable, if they were constantly eating rotten, gross meat, they would be too sick to battle as well as they battled. So Sauron's armies were well fed. With many different things.
When they were armies on the run, they would totally be like, not able to sustain meat on those distances, and that's why they complain about, we haven't had anything but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days. That's because he's missing meat. Meat is back on the menu, boys. It's all in there. Orcs were omnivores. They would eat each other.
Like us.
They would eat each other, grossly enough, if they were starving.
Is there any proof of that?
Yeah, of course there is.
Where does Tolkien say that orcs ate themselves?
I'll find it. The Black Gate.
To answer
your first question, I just pulled up. The Black Gate was originally built by Sauron to prevent invasion through the pass of Cirith Gorgor, the gap between one branch of the mountains and the other. It was probably built with the power of the One Ring, like the Barad-dûr. After Sauron's fall, it became a Númenórean garrison. So the Númenóreans guarded the Black Gate after Sauron's downfall.
It's very old.
When Isildur cut the ring from Sauron's hand and he vanished. Yeah.
So what do you say about Elrond telling Boromir that it's pretty clear at the Council of Elrond that Mordor is uninhabitable? I don't think that Elrond meant that Mordor is uninhabitable for us. Is that it's uninhabitable because there's a bunch of bad guys there that you don't want to live there. There's no your property value will not go up. It's a sunk cost. It costs a lot more to live in Mordor on that side of the mountain.
Yes.
The land is less arable. Right? It's basically on the other side of the wall if we're going to the Game of Thrones, right? No one lives on the side of the wall because it's hard to raise crops or anything on the ice side of the wall.
The land in western parts of Mordor, which is where our main characters Frodo and Sam are scrambling through.
Yeah.
The land in the western parts of Mordor were largely infertile, producing only sparse brambles. Tolkien writes about those brambles and that there were some plants in that gorge that Frodo and Sam stumbled down into after they escaped the Tower of Cirith Ungol. That whole thing happens. It's in the book, by the way, not in the movies. But the southern part of Mordor, as I said, was slightly more fertile and moist enough to carry the inland sea of Nirnen. Nirn was somewhat fertile because the ash blown from Mount Doom left its soil nutrient-rich.
Oh my gosh.
Thus allowing dry land farming. Yep, ultimately the inland sea of Nirn was salty, not freshwater. There you go, unfortunately. So yeah, you gotta...
Samuel says, proof that the orcs ate each other is also in the movie. When orc shivs another orc, you can see guts flying when they go for a dinner.
Yep, this is also true.
But I want to know if Tolkien explicitly says that orcs ate on themselves. So when we're talking, if we're talking about the southern...
It's in The Hobbit. It's like even Gollum would eat... If when Gollum was hungry and desperate, he didn't like it, but he would eat goblin meat. In fact, he's killing one and preparing to eat it in the movie An Unexpected Journey. Gollum would eat anything he could get his hands on, and orcs and goblins were no different. They were no less vile in that aspect. Trust me. Don't try to think that orcs were a step above cannibalism, because they weren't. They weren't.
But
just saying.
So the south end of the southern end of Mordor is arable because there's a sea and there's it's good. The ash has been blowing, so the soil is fertile. And I believe that's where a lot of the video game Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War take place.
It sure is playing fast and loose with other aspects of Tolkien's world. That's
what do you mean?
Sure.
Like we know for a fact.
Shelob is all of a sudden able to shapeshift and become her truer form, which is such gorgeous seductress. Ooh, Shelob. Look at those gams. Get a load of those legs, boys. And then all of a sudden, the Tex Avery wolf leaps across the table and goes, woohoo! And his eyes bug out. And he's like, look at Shelob and look at those sexy gams on her. Oh, we know what she really is? She's a horrible spider shadow. That's what she really is. okay? And the fact that they would dream up this really bizarre concept of her taking on a fair form is beyond me. It really is beyond me. But
Okay.
whatever.
Well,
whatever.
Anonymous in the chat
Okay.
room says, I should
It's
read the books
interesting,
before
though.
I debate people who have read them. That's what I want to know. If you
It's
guys have,
interesting, but
everyone has read the books.
it's not
Some
Tolkien.
have read more Middle-earth books than others. Like Cliff, you've read everything 5 times over.
too much so.
And so I want to know
wish I could retain it all.
if Tolkien himself has actually written that, there is cannibalism in orcdom.
Yeah, there's cannibal. Guys, look it up. There are.
Guys, you should
There's-
change the topic. I'm going to puke.
Okay, yeah. Well, all right. Sorry, Marfles. So, how about the scandal, the Hollywood scandal? We're
Well,
gonna get to
no,
that?
I don't want to talk about that. I want to let's close up the Shadow of War talk because the game comes out today. It is officially
I got
out today.
Text
on
messages from all my friends,
Everybody.
sending me pictures of the Mithril editions.
It's $150. No, it's $250. I think for like the Ultimate Edition
That's right,
Shadow of
Janessa.
War.
That's right. Thank you.
The new game, Middle Earth Shadow of War from our
Yes,
friends at
it
Warner
certainly
Brothers.
is raising eyebrows.
The
So
game has come out.
we didn't get a review copy, so we can't say anything about it. We haven't seen it yet.
Well, you
But
don't even own an Xbox One, so you couldn't even play it.
That doesn't. You know what? Back in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Warner Brothers Interactive sent people to my house with an Xbox console. They came into my living room and played demos for me. Game demos in my living room, brought to my door. Back then, that was when that was happening, but it's not now.
Well,
But that's okay.
It's so weird that
I don't
that-
mind,
that
really.
I would love to talk to some of the lore people. Maybe they knew that we would have some tough questions about the lore, but I think the fans appreciate that. Let's talk about why these decisions were made from the game directors and producers.
Well, the concept is that if Sauron could take on a fair form and fool Celebrimbor, who is one of the wiser of the elves, the one who knew ringcraft,
yeah.
if Lucifer himself can do it in the Bible, if Loki can do it in the Norse mythology, if all of these evil characters, including Sauron, have this established pattern of being able to, quote-unquote, assume fair form, so that someone gullible would not know that they were really the evil villain, but they put on a bright mask. In other European folk tales, the children of Faerie would put on a glamour.
Yeah.
And when you put on a glamour, you would not know that you were speaking to a goblin or a sprite
totally.
or a will-o-wisp.
It's
or
a
whoever.
common thing in storytelling.
It is to put on. Loki does it. Lucifer does it. Who else does it? Sauron does it quite clearly.
Yeah.
So they're assuming we'll extend that bit of storytelling
To Shelob,
to Shelob,
which is
so she
very
can
old.
assume. Well, she's an evil spirit of unknown origin, because except for being
According to Tolkien.
a spawn of Ungoliant, but Ungoliant herself assumed a spider form.
But
And she was
Ungoliant
one
did,
of
and
the
so she is spawn of that.
But Ungoliant was originally an evil Maiar, one of the most a really powerful evil Maiar that was so corrupted and had this relationship with Melkor. Guess what? Melkor, the original bad boy, the original Dark Lord Morgoth. Morgoth had this weird relationship with Ungoliant, the original dark evil spider from the Silmarillion. And that relationship is what they're trying to mirror now with,
So would you have less of an issue if it was Ungoliant in the game?
I would have much less of an issue if they were talking about Ungoliant and her original relationship with Morgoth. But they can't touch on that because why? They don't have the license to do
they
any
assign that
Silmarillion
to
stories.
Shelob.
So they're redrafting those elements out of the Silmarillion and pushing them into the video game world. So now Shelob is taking fair form. When we're assuming that there must be something, it's like the whole Thanos having a relationship with death in the comic books and Marvel world. And now we're going to have Thanos having a relationship with Hela, with Cate Blanchett, the goddess of death.
Yeah.
So you've got that Sauron evil Destructo equating him to Thanos, having a relationship with Sauron, having a relationship with Shelob, who's a dark shadow spider of death, and now she's all pissed off at Sauron for deceiving her.
Yeah.
According to this video game storyline. So this is very
Well,
interesting.
I can buy into that.
Pete is answering us. Let's read this before it scrolls off the screen. Orcs eat all manner of flesh, including men and horses, and there are frequent hints of cannibalism among orcs. Grisnak, leader of the Mordor orcs, accuses Saruman's Uruks of eating orc flesh, which they angrily deny. In Cirith Ungol, Gorbag suggests that Frodo, recently poisoned by Shelob, should go in the pot. Shagrat indicates that Gorbag could be, quote, for the pot, unquote, himself for making such a suggestion.
Okay.
Shagrat
All right,
threatens to eat.
we do have proof. Speaking of retconning the original story, we had a good question on Facebook, unrelated to this. So when Gandalf is at the Bridge of Khazad-dûm and he says, "Fly, you fools," it's very dramatic, right? Fly, you fools, and then he falls.
Yes.
Do you think he meant that he had already made a deal with the Eagles and he's actually telling these guys, "Hey, stop walking, stop hiking. Just fly, guys. Fly. Get there. Get this done.
Yeah.
I can only fight this Balrog so long." So he's basically saying, "Fly, you fools. I've already made the deal. Go talk to the Eagles and fly to Mordor." Do you think they misread what he said?
That is the lamest, stupid, sorry. Hey guys, I'm sorry, but I'm going to use the S word. On a live show, I'm going to use the S word. Stupid suggestion. Do you know what? The use of the verb to fly is just to, like, leave quickly. Like, that's all it means, to run. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
So you're not bought into "fly, you fools," like Gandalf wasn't trying to tell them, "Hey, take the shortcut, fly," like physically fly.
No, you're too literal. That's the problem with interpretation. You're just interpreting it what Tolkien didn't mean.
Why do you feel he didn't mean? Because he had already flown off of the tower of Isengard. He'd already taken an eagle off the tower, so he was already talking to the eagles. He had already talked to the eagles. He got off the tower of Isengard on an eagle, and then he met up with everybody. So he could have, like, isn't it possible that he actually already had this conversation?
I think "fly, you fools" rolls off the tongue better than "make haste" and "run quickly, you fools."
But why would
I really think it just rolls off the tongue.
Why would they
Professor Tolkien was a smart writer. He knew about tone and the music of words and the way that language sounds. And so he put that language in Gandalf's mouth because that's how it sounded urgent. Fly, you fools.
Why would they need to fly, you fools, and make haste when the bad guy just fell down the cavern and the bridge is broken, so no one can chase them? No one can chase them now. They're safe on the other side of the cavern.
Arrows right across the cavern.
Well, that's a few arrows versus like an army that cannot cross that chasm, and the Balrog had already fallen.
No time at all before they would find.
There's no reason.
There's many reasons. They'd find alternate routes, and they knew that they'd be in pursuit. They knew that. Oh my gosh, no! You're so crazy. Stop it. Hey, stop the crazy. I want to get off. Hey, Pete.
Okay.
Pete Northrunner says in the live chat, that's why some people think that when Tolkien said that Balrogs fly, that he meant they actually flew. Others say he meant that they hauled Balrog ass. Yeah, they do haul ass. Well, oh yeah, eagles are not Middle-earth taxis. That's right.
The eagles were servants of Manwë, not Uber.
That's right.
This is true.
That's right.
This is true. Well, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about two controversial things, but I have to recommend Shadow of War. Look, we want more Middle-earth. We want Battle for Middle-earth 3. We want a multiplayer Hobbit game like we got for Return of the King. That was an amazing. Remember, like the Return of the King Xbox and PlayStation game? I would love an action platformer for the Hobbit. I just think it would be so much fun, and the voice acting, they could have so much fun, like making jokes.
Letting the voice actors come in and have fun,
and let the voice actors come in and have fun. This new Shadow of War game has an all-star cast. I believe it has Troy Baker. I believe it has Nolan North, who's been in everything. It has Kumail Nanjiani and so many other people that make guest cameos as voices of orcs. So it's kind of fun to like go through the game, and then you meet up with an orc, and it sounds very familiar because it's someone that might be familiar to you, an actor, an actress. So I think you should check out Battle for Middle-earth. The big controversy outside of the Tolkien lore is that the game has introduced microtransactions, and I have a feeling that they're going to offer a software update in the coming weeks or months. But right now, you cannot get 100% completion in the game without actually buying a crate, a loot crate in the game. You just have to spend like $20 or something like that to buy a microtransaction.
That's what they are, microtransactions.
So when you see all the headlines, most people don't read beyond the headlines. So if you see all the headlines about controversy about Shadow of War, it's not a controversy about Shelob shouldn't be a woman. It's the fact that you pay $60, $100, $150, $200, depending on which version of the game you get, and then they're telling you have to spend extra money once you get inside the game to buy a loot chest to get more stuff.
To even actually get to the end of the game, to finish the 4th act of the game, you can't do it without microtransactions, and that has pissed off quite a few people in the gamer community, and I do understand that. I do indeed. Oh, you know what? I brought this Atlas of Middle-earth because a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine named Hunter Fox, is a game designer, and he's building an RPG game system, and he's putting it in the old lost Kingdom of Arnor, the kingdom in the north, which is where Aragorn's kinsmen actually dwelt, and where the Rangers of the North come from.
Okay.
And they were attacked by the Witch King of Angmar.
Yes.
And that would be an interesting place to set an RPG game. And, you know, they kind of did that once. The video game, Shadow of... excuse me, it was War in the North. Hey, remember that?
Yes.
That video game, War in the North? We got to play either an elf or a dwarf or a man.
This is like the Shadow of Mordor is like the War in the North. It's like on the other side of the mountain. This is War in the South.
Yeah, it is War in the South.
On the
very
other
much
side.
so. But here is the land. These are the Ettenmoors. This, see on this map, I'm showing him on this beautiful map of the Misty Mountains.
Yes.
This is where Gandalf and Radagast in the movie, in Desolation of Smaug, met each other. Right up here.
The Ettenmoors.
Yeah, up here, and even way further up are the mountains of Angmar. This, and right here is Gundabad. This is where, and here's the side of Mirkwood. This is, so they left the Lonely Mountain, and Orlando Bloom and, oh my gosh, Tauriel was played by Evangeline Lilly. Evangeline Lilly and Orlando Bloom come all the way to Mount Gundabad, then go all the way back to the Lonely Mountain. But when Gandalf leaves his little conversation, here's Beorn's house. Beorn's house is right down here somewhere. And, there's Roscobel, right? That's Radagast's house. Yeah. And there's Beorn's house right here.
Oh, that's right.
So then he went, and Gandalf immediately went all the way over here to find out where, you know, the tombs were, and then came all the way back across the mountains in time to end up all the way back at the Battle of the Five Armies. But without maps like these beautiful details, you would not understand.
Well, the movies want you to ignore the maps. I mean, the fact
the movies do want you to explore the maps.
At the end of Desolation of Smaug, like Orlando goes chasing the orcs,
look at how much
turns around.
Look at how much of Mordor is this dark evil plateau of Gorgoroth up here, and all the rest of this landmass, which is all like, you know,
it's big.
Yeah, and volcanic ash is highly nutrient rich for soil.
That's right.
So all this stuff cast, you know, through the weather patterns coming down this way would make Mordor.
In Fellowship of the Ring, Shelob is mentioned as living in the high pass before Sauron and before the first stone of Barad-dûr, and she served none but herself, for all living things were her food and her vomit.
That's right. That's right. And the suggestion that she's one of the last surviving spawn of Ungoliant, Ungoliant herself is not even identified as one of the ancient angelic powers. She was not one of the Ainur in the beginning before time. She is not mentioned by Tolkien in this book, the Silmarillion. So all we know is that, according to this quote, see, this is not my green edition. This is my red edition of Silmarillion that shows up on the green screen even better. Check this out, guys. See this, folks? This is amazing. All right, according to what we're looking at here, Ungoliant dropped out of the darkness above the roof of the heavens. And her origin is just so really unknown. And she made a deal with Morgoth after destroying the light of the two trees and drinking all the light from the wells in Valinor. Then all of a sudden, she wanted to get her reward. And Morgoth promised her, I will pay you, I will reward you eye with both hands open. But what he did, he secretly had the Silmarils behind his back. And he kept one right hand behind his back. And he gave her lots of jewels and beautiful things that she ate. But she got pissed off at this perceived betrayal, the original betrayal, and Morgoth did not have the heart to give up the Silmarils and give them to this evil spider beast. But her interest was in nothing but darkness, and some people suggest maybe she was just the personification of all darkness itself and wanted nothing but to eat up all light. And so Shelob is descended from that crazy creature. Shelob is descended from this evil darkness, and for the video game designers of Shadow of War to think that there's, you know, it's not automatically codified in here that, you know, evil dark spider spirit just wants to be nothing but shadow and death, can all of a sudden put on a glamour and all of a sudden be a beautiful lady all of a sudden. It's like, you know, but there is the echo of the original story, because Shelob in this video game is pissed off at Sauron, who we know is the lieutenant of Morgoth.
So for the same reasons.
So they really are drawing the parallel without paying for the Silmarillion license. They're actually, I think...
That's a pretty clever, tricky
redoing that story.
Look, we're getting the Silmarillion by force and fire.
You're getting the Silmarillion kind of repurposed in the video game world. I don't.
Hey, isn't Gandalf, the Balrog, and Shelob all related in some capacity?
Yeah, well, no. See, the Balrogs were Maiar spirits. And Shelob, and Ungoliant, the original bad mama spider, they're of unknown spiritual origin. We really don't know. Tolkien does not say. That's right. I have started listening to the Silmarillion audiobook. How is that Silmarillion audiobook? I hear great things about it. Apparently, you've been pronouncing things wrong in your own head, Janessa. That's funny. That's right. I say things wrong often on this show. Don't rely on me, as you know. But Ungoliant gets a mention in the Hobbit movie for one reason and one reason only. Even though that is a story element of Silmarillion, it's a character from the Silmarillion. The name Ungoliant gets mentioned and is drop-kicked in, I think, in the appendix, or somewhere in the Lord of the Rings. So, because it's in the Lord of the Rings, it's licensed. And therefore, Sylvester McCoy was allowed to say, "Spiders, Gandalf. Giant ones. Some spawn of Ungoliant, or I'm no wizard." Remember when Sylvester McCoy says that? However, Ian McKellen is not allowed to say the names Alatar and Parlando. He's about the only thing
the Blue Wizards.
He's like, you know, I've quite forgotten their names. That's what Ian McKellen is forced to say, and that is how strict the licensing issues are with the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Just so you guys understand that. Sylvester McCoy is allowed to say one word. Ian McKellen is not allowed to say two other words.
That makes it.
It's just a weird world.
The licensing's a trick, and I hope that they start to clear up. They are starting to clear up. As we know, a month ago, the Warner Brothers and the Tolkien estate came to its agreement.
They certainly did.
And so everyone's good. Everyone's back at the table now, talking about more Middle Earth games, TV shows, movies. We don't know what else. You know, when it comes to all the rights that are here, Warner Brothers is doing every trick in the book to basically bring pieces of the Silmarillion into all of these other storytelling vehicles, like Shadow of War video games.
I don't know about that.
I would love to have a tower defense game for Middle Earth. Wouldn't that be fun? There's so many towers that you could protect in an iOS game, a little iPad game. But
yeah. I hear you. But you know what? Any purist like me, or any hardcore book fan who loves Tolkien's original storytelling as much as I do, I'm like, uh-oh, it's almost time to restart your device. I have some ish, and I have to just be honest with you guys. The video game might be a really fun romp. I bet you it's a great romp. I love the Nemesis
it's just fun to
thing.
play.
I love the Nemesis engine.
It's fun.
It is so much fun. I'm sure it is. But you know what? I still have my ish with them playing fast and loose with the rules and with the world of Tolkien, and trying to get away with doing a what you'd call a repackaging of Silmarillion elements into a video game world.
I love that. I love that they're finding ways to work this into existing licenses.
It takes it further and further away from Tolkien, because there's no ironclad guarantees that There's just, of
Do you
course, there's
think-
no ironclad guarantees.
Martin Shaw did the narration for the Silmarillion audiobook, I believe. Do you think someone like Morgan Freeman would do justice to Tolkien, or do you think Tolkien's voice, his writer's voice,
Should be a Brit.
should not be that deep and dramatic?
No, look.
What everyone talks about your narrative voice, right? They always tell in school, they always tell you find your narrative voice, and that's, you know, and that, right, that like, so Tolkien has a very specific narrative voice. Is that
does.
a dark and dramatic voice like Morgan Freeman, or is it Martin Freeman's voice? You know,
No,
a little cherubic. And,
No, the voice, the tone of voice in The Lord of the Rings changes so incredibly from the beginning to the end.
Okay.
Yeah, like, and his choice of words is so really specific and forceful. I mean, the sounds of certain words changes. Like, you know, the Silmarillion is not so much noticeable because it's across the board written with this historical density that makes it hard to read and hard to digest. It's weird. But it's, you know, it's Tolkien.
Let me ask you this: do the audiobooks, any version of any of the audiobooks of Tolkien, are they sure that that's how you pronounce some of those words?
They
and
do their
names?
best. Hey, he has notes on pronunciation in the appendix.
Okay.
Yeah, Tolkien has
So
a
if
lot
you-
of
if you-
tables of vowels and lots of notes about his languages. He was a linguist. He
So
left
if
behind
you
a rich
listen to
bit.
some of the audiobooks, will you learn how to say some of the words that you
Yeah.
may be saying wrong in your head?
Yeah, yeah, but you can always check your scholarship. There's a lot of Tolkien scholarship that is out
How
there.
do you say Manwë?
How would I say Manwë?
How do they say it in the audiobooks? Is it always the
I
same?
haven't heard the audiobook of the Silmarillion in a long while.
Okay.
Yeah, see,
Iluvatar?
I have heard a YouTuber, a popular one, call it Iluvatar. Yeah, and I've heard it say that, yeah, but, you know, we should have our neighborhood linguist, Ostadan, come and join us on an episode and do all dedicated episode about Elvish languages, Quenya versus Sindarin.
That would be a wonderful conversation, because Janet in
Yes.
the chat room says, I believe the Martin Shaw version of the audiobook was verified by the Tolkien estate.
verified. It got a blue check mark. It was a verified
But
account.
is that the only version? I would love to know if the
That
Tolkien...
sounds like it's the definitive one. If that's the one you want to get some approval, it'd be from the Tolkien estate itself.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like that. Good.
Yeah, everyone in the chat room wants to have the linguist on. Yeah, let's book him. Let's get our old friend Austin.
What is this? Was it Justin's big idea to have his face obscured by text? Is your face being obscured by text?
What?
I don't know.
Oh, let me go see.
There's something going on. He's going to have to go check that out.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, guys. He's going to go up to the control booth. Houston, we have a problem. Anyways, definitely worth getting. If you're going to read this, we were just talking about this because it was the anniversary of the Silmarillion. But, you see this? You got to get a copy of this Atlas of Middle-earth if you really, really want to dig into the Silmarillion. I couldn't have gotten through it without it. That's just me. But so much more becomes clearer to the novice reader who's trying to get through the density, like I said, historical density here in the Silmarillion. But with Karen Wynne Fonstad, she has made the most beautiful atlas. Look at this. Maps on climate. Look, she understood where the rain systems and the weather patterns moved through Middle-earth. There's topography that covers the migration of peoples. Oh, speaking of Shelob's Lair, here's all the underground caves and the winding stair from where Minas Morgul is, and here's the path that they went up through where Gollum led them into Shelob's Lair. Wow. Speaking of Shelob, here's an incredibly cool cross diagram of Shelob's Lair. Here you go. One of my favorite maps, the map of Eriador. Eriador. Or is it Eriador? Or is it Eriador? How do you pronounce it? But here's where the Shire is. The Shire. Here's the Shire right here. And here's the Gulf of Lune. Here's the Grey Havens. All the way over here, here's the coast. This is the western coast, the uttermost west where you would leave from the Grey Havens. Here's the Grey Havens right here. Here's the Shire. Oh, and here's the Old Forest. There's the Old Forest right there, where Old Man Willow and Tom Bombadil are, where the hobbits encounter them. There's the Barrow Downs, where the Barrow Wights nearly ended the adventure. Stop cold. Everyone nearly died in that episode. Right there, the Barrow Wights almost got them, except for the ultimate Deus Ex Machina of Tom Bombadil coming in to save the day. There's Bree, the village of Bree, right outside
Why
the
are we
Shire.
talking about maps?
Because
Because
they're cool.
people in the chat room want to know
What we're talking about, well-
who was the linguist that they used for the movies?
That's David Sallow.
David
Sallow,
Is
yes.
he a Kiwi?
No, he's an American dude.
Is he
But,
here? Can we get him?
What I was talking about before while I was filling time while you were gone, was saying, like, if you want to read the Silmarillion and really get through the crazy thickness of these stories, you will need this atlas because it explains everything in super clear detail. Where people were, where battles happened, and where people moved across the maps. And there was so much destruction of land, cataclysmic changes to the shoreline, where entire continents were sunk under the waves. Well, because you have this map, and all these beautiful maps in here, you can see exactly where the Destructo happened in the first age of the Silmarillion. And again, happy anniversary, Silmarillion. 80th anniversary, yes, or 70th?
40th.
Excuse me, I'm showing my dotage. I'm a dotard,
This came
so I'm
out
showing my
after-
dotage.
This came out after
40th
Star Wars.
anniversary,
This is younger than Star Wars.
Only by a few months. It came out in
That's
the
right.
same year, 1977.
Speaking of Star
So
Wars,
anyways.
did you guys see the latest Star Wars trailer that opens with
I refuse to watch it.
Andy Serkis's narration? Andy
Wow.
Serkis is Supreme Leader Snoke.
I don't wanna watch it.
This
Spoiling
isn't
it.
a spoil. I'm not going to spoil anything.
Spoiling it for me.
I am not going to spoil
All right, now
anything.
you tell me, did this trailer give away too much?
No.
You sure?
No, I
Does this
think it
trailer give
missed.
away-
I think it misdirects a lot of things, but I don't think it
Misdirects?
I don't
really?
think it gives away anything. It misdirects a lot. But
Oh,
Andy Serkis
okay.
is Supreme Leader Snoke,
Yes.
who has been training Kylo.
Kylo Ren,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is from the first movie, so I'm not spoiling anything. But the first
His real name's
voice,
Ben.
the first
by the
voice
way.
and the last voice that you hear in this Star Wars trailer
He's
is
Andy Serkis.
Serkis.
All right.
Now
Yes, that's
everyone
right.
has a theory of who Andy Serkis' character is. Is it a new character? My theory is that it is the reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker. Some people think it's Darth Plagueis himself.
It's much
who
more
never
likely.
died.
It's much more likely that this is Darth Plagueis, and not Supreme Leader Snoke keeping a secret identity. Does that surprise anyone? No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. So, what do you think? Do you think that it's a new character that's brand new?
I'm just excited that it's Andy Serkis as the ultimate power in the universe.
Ah,
We put up a poll on Twitter saying is Andy Serkis' character more powerful than the three most powerful Siths? And everyone's like, yep, he's more powerful than Palpatine. So Andy Serkis is quite possibly the most powerful Force-sensitive being ever in the Star Wars universe. This is a big deal. He's gone from Gollum to like the supreme leader of the Force. Like this is
We know so little about him from The Force Awakens. What do you think? Is there going to be a real
he is in all
details?
three movies. I believe he's going to be in all three movies.
Are we going to learn something about his identity?
I
don't
hope
know.
we don't. I hope he stays kind of mysterious in this new movie. But do you think it is a good idea to have the bad guys kind of be the protagonist? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like a lot of this story is around Kylo and his devotion to Darth Vader, and Andy Serkis is the big baddie.
But the original story is about Darth Vader and Anakin. The whole Star Wars saga is not Luke and Leia's story. It is
the Skywalker
Anakin's.
story.
It is Skywalker's
Is
story.
Anakin's story. That's why I think
Look
that
at the first Star Wars, A New Hope. The whole impetus of the story is motivated by everything that Darth Vader does. He's
Yeah.
the first person you meet in the opening, and he
That's
bursts
right.
through the smoke and the doors with those blasters and arrives to makes this impressive appearance. Everybody in Star Wars is either on the run from him or reacting to him. Even Luke ends up reacting to him. What is the end of The Return of the Jedi? With Anakin's redemption. I have been advocating a different point of view against this fan theory, because I find the idea very suspect that Anakin would have cheated death and learned the secrets of Darth Plagueis and would be alive. Because you don't want to cheat Anakin's redemption out of the movie.
I'm with you.
No. I bet he is Palpatine or something unoriginal. They aren't clever enough to do a new character. What is Sarah? Oh, we'll see about this. Yoda is not dead. He became one with the Force.
I mean, it's just like the stories of Middle Earth are the stories of the Baggins family, you know.
They are.
It's about Bilbo Baggins, and then it's
Frodo.
about Frodo Baggins, like
Yeah.
you know, and then Frodo goes off. Like the Star Wars is about the Skywalker family. So I have a feeling that I think Luke knows deep down that Snoke is his father reincarnated. He can just feel the energy. He knows. He can feel the Force, and I'm excited.
Now, if Anakin is alive, then you cheat Anakin, the character, out of every noble thing he does in Return of the Jedi, and you cheat the whole narrative of that film with Darth Vader's redemption at the end. Anakin has to die in a noble sacrifice to destroy the Emperor and save his son. Astonishing reversal of fortune, right? Right. Hello. But Cliff, Luke burned his father's corpse. That's right, Marvels.
The corpse is just one vehicle of the body. You see his ghost appear, and I feel like Force ghosts are the first step to reincarnation. Because you hear Qui-Gon's voice. You never saw his ghost, but you hear Qui-Gon talk in a ghost voice to Yoda.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then you start to see the ghosts. And I think the next step of reincarnation is beyond the ghost.
Well, the Clone Wars and the animated series cover a lot of that ground. At the very end of the Clone Wars, Yoda admits that he is going to take training from Qui-Gon to learn how to be a Force ghost. And that is embedded in the cartoon universe, which is actually completely part of...
I've never watched any of the cartoons.
You've missed out.
So
it's all connected. It's all canon. And then if you want to have a real conversation about how Yoda learns how to channel that energy to become a Force ghost, he learns it from Qui-Gon, and they bring Liam Neeson to come in and do the voice.
Really?
Yes, really Liam Neeson, who appears as every incarnation of Qui-Gon in the animated as a Force ghost. It's so impressive.
So it's really
impressive.
Qui-Gon figures out how to be a Force ghost and teaches that?
and teaches Yoda.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Darth Plagueis taught Palpatine, who taught Anakin, who then knows both sides, the light and dark side. He knows how to become a ghost, and he also knows how to reincarnate himself.
Doesn't Yoda say something to Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end of
Do you think
at the end of Revenge of the Sith, that he's learned something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the Ewoks are like the dwarves? Do the dwarves have any equivalents in the Star Wars universe?
The Ewoks, Star Wars, are an equivalent to the wild men, the Wozes, in The Lord of the Rings. They're almost feral.
So is there
like
anybody
feral.
in Star Wars that is trying to reclaim a stolen homeland?
Sarah says that Rey is a Force baby, like Anakin was, and Snoke is Plagueis.
Interesting.
Interesting, Sarah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. Rey is a Force baby like Anakin was. They're saying that Anakin was a Force baby created out of whole cloth of midichlorians.
Who knows?
They're
Lots
saying
of fan theories.
Well, I want to know, like, there aren't a lot of like comparisons between Tolkien stories and the Star Wars, even though both pull from historical templates of storytelling.
The first movie, especially A New Hope, pulls very directly from the Lord of the Rings template, which is also recognizable to fans of Joseph Campbell, who studied Joseph Campbell, where
Did
and
Campbell
Greek
study
mythology,
Tolkien?
young Frodo, the young hero,
Yeah.
gets advice from the
young
older
Bilbo.
mentor,
Young Bilbo.
young Frodo.
Okay.
Young Bilbo also, as an equivalence, gets advice and teaching from an older mentor. It's just like in Greek mythology, where the son of Ulysses gets teaching from mentor. And now Obi-Wan Kenobi, the older wizard, gives tutelage and mentorship to Luke, the same way that Gandalf gives mentorship to Frodo. It's all in that template. Yes, it's in there. But I don't see that so much in the relationship that Rey has with an older mentor. Yoda is another big example of Luke directly taking apprenticeship to an older, wiser teacher. But that is a little bit more inspired by George Lucas's affection for the martial arts movies, the samurai movies, where a martial arts student would go to a dojo and go under the spiritual teaching of a Zen master.
That's one of my.
So there's a cross-cutting of that.
I wouldn't call it a major issue or concern, but the one thing I do notice about the Lord of the Rings stories is that does Frodo actually learn anything?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Frodo learns quite a lot.
Whom does he learn from, and what does he learn?
Well, he learns a lot from Sam, surprisingly. Frodo learns quite a few
but
eye-opening...
not in a like you were talking, not in a master and apprentice type thing. Frodo just kind of experiences life. Does he learn anything by the end?
He takes a lot of exposition from Gandalf.
I don't think he learned anything because he jumps ship and goes west and leaves all his friends. What does he learn?
You're just being a contrarian.
No, what does he learn, though?
You're just being a contrarian.
He doesn't learn anything.
Oh my
it's
God.
Sam that actually takes him up the hill at the last thing because Frodo hasn't learned to control the evil inside. He hasn't learned, what does Frodo learn?
Oh, come on.
Tell me.
Frodo learns the most from Sam in terms of loyalty and unshakable faith. If Frodo learns anything about someone who has faith, who does something regardless of the dire circumstances, but will do it anyways, Frodo learns a lot from Sam.
It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand.
What Frodo learns earlier in the story is a lot from Gandalf. But later on in the story, when Gandalf is not around, and Frodo has been isolated from the rest of the Fellowship, and he's only with Sam and Gollum, Frodo is learning from this weird relationship that Frodo, Sam, and Gollum have. He learns about pity. He is reminded and reinforced about Bilbo's pity, and Gandalf's wisdom is reinforced on Frodo later on in the story. So it's quite interesting to how could you not see so clearly what Frodo learns through his own sacrifice? What do you think Frodo learns through his own sacrifice? He learns the limits of his own self-determination. He learns his own limits of himself. Because at the crack of doom, Frodo gives in to the power of the ring. He learns his own limitations. He learns a lot.
He's given into the ring multiple times throughout the story.
Wait, the movie version of the story or the book version of the story?
Ooh.
Come on now. Come on now. Let's talk. Don't get it twisted. Control the evil inside? Yeah, Northrunner. There you go. Eravandi is saying there's an article on writing mentor characters. I had recently seemed to think Gandalf was the mentor character in Lord of the Rings. Mainly, yeah. Well, obviously, in early chapters, like The Shadow of the Past, Gandalf shoulders all of that exposition.
He learned that
and explains to the audience all this history of the ring and all this stuff.
Frodo learns that he has saved the Shire and Middle-earth, but not for himself.
That's true.
I think that he doesn't. That's not a learning. That's a result of his actions.
Would you also think that, like most combat veterans, Frodo learns that the wounds that you carry with you, the post-traumatic stress that you carry with you, will affect you throughout your days long after the war is over?
Let me ask you this: does the Frodo that we see at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, where he says, "What must I do?"
Yeah,
I will take the ring to Mordor.
Though I do not know the way.
Is that the same Frodo that we see at the end?
No. It's a different Frodo at the end.
Because we know for a fact that Luke Skywalker cannot face his dad and the Emperor. He does not have the willpower at the beginning of Star Wars.
Not at the beginning, but he does later.
And he doesn't even have it at the end of the second movie. Like, it takes him all the way to the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
For Luke to have enough willpower to stand up against his dad. And then it's a psychological game. And my point is Frodo loses that psychological game at the crack of doom.
Professor Tolkien wanted to exemplify the Lord's Prayer in that weird moment where Gollum saves the day. Get it? Because in the Lord's Prayer, which is a very deeply ingrained thing into Tolkien's Catholic life, you know, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Deliver us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And those words in particular, those last 4 sentences, they're all about the relationship in that triad between Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. Gollum trespasses against Frodo over and over again, and takes him to Shelob's lair as a trap, and then attacks him again. When Shelob doesn't even kill Frodo, Gollum attacks again. And Gollum doesn't die, Frodo doesn't kill him. Even at the very end, when they're climbing up the side of the volcano, Gollum attacks again, and Frodo says, "Begone and trouble me no more. If you ever touch me ever again, you will be cast yourself into the fires of doom." And he's clutching the ring and making an oath on the ring when he says that. And it becomes true because Gollum survived, and because Frodo forgave Gollum his trespasses and would not kill him. Gollum was therefore alive to be there at the moment of temptation and delivered him from evil. Gollum was there to deliver Frodo from evil at the moment. And Tolkien writes about this in his letters quite specifically, that the Lord's Prayer was something that was very much in the deep dynamics of that 3-character moment, at that critical moment where the catastrophe happens and the end of the story happens. And that is because the Lord's Prayer was something he wanted to have manifest, that, you know, forgiveness would lead to a later redemption to anybody under any circumstance, and he personified it with Gollum. So you learn something every day when you keep in mind that Professor Tolkien's deep Catholic beliefs were such a part of that storytelling. You know, Northrunner says, "Very true, Cliff," and he learned that from Gandalf, with Bilbo as an example.
Is this in the letters of Tolkien?
Oh yeah. All this stuff is all in Tolkien's letters.
Did Sam go west eventually?
Yep. He ultimately went west. He was a ring bearer as well.
Frodo went west because he had been stabbed by the Morgul blade, and he needed the healing of the west.
Yes, and that was the only place that he could.
Did he reap any rewards? Did Frodo reap any rewards?
No, just knowing that he did the right thing.
Like Sam got the girl. Sam got a good house.
Yep, Sam got the house and the girl,
Frodo,
and the family, and the mayorship. Sam got everything.
Frodo didn't really get anything, did he?
Nope. Frodo got to quietly disappear into the background of history.
Why did Tolkien do that?
Think about
it. And Luke did the same thing. Luke Skywalker disappeared into
the background of history and
is on an island with a bunch of puffins.
Yep, with a bunch of puffins. Exactly.
Porgs or whatever you call those. Man.
Porgs. I don't know, but hey,
I'm so glad Lord of the Rings didn't have anything as annoyingly cute as
Jar Jar Binks. You're in the Star Wars world.
Porgs and Ewoks.
You're in the Star Wars world.
There's no Porgs and Ewoks in Middle Earth.
You've got Jar Jar. You've got Gungans, Ewoks, and now Porgs.
Gungans are a fully realized society. Do you remember? They go underwater. So why do you think Tolkien assigns Frodo to the back page of history?
Frodo was a Christ figure, says Pete in the Ustream chat, sacrificing himself for the rest of the world.
Then why didn't Frodo fall in the fire? If he's the Christ figure, Gollum's the Christ figure.
That's too easy. Because it was a bit more complicated and it's more dramatic and interesting that way.
Yeah, this is true.
Now, come on. The thing is that Tolkien wanted to remind everyone that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. So it is the hobbits who would automatically take the background into history and not rise to the top of the heroes list.
That's the biggest difference between Tolkien and Star Wars.
He wanted to remind you that the most unassuming person could have the biggest impact.
And Star Wars teaches you the exact opposite. It was like the only one that can change the course of history is this this what's the word? Not patriarchy. This lineage of Skywalkers are the only ones that can save the galaxy.
This is part of the DNA of this story.
Qui-Gon says he will bring balance to the Force, and then Luke is the last hero, and then Yoda says there is another, and now we're in a whole new trilogy where the Skywalkers, like, it's funny. It's in Star Wars, it's the exact opposite.
Kylo Ren is a Skywalker on his mother's side,
and they're all banking that a Skywalker, the Skywalker lineage is the only one.
Bring balance to the Force,
and Tolkien is telling you no, anyone can be the hero.
Even your gardener. Even your freaking gardener. The guy that you walk past and don't even care and kick dirt in his area because he's working in the dirt, you don't care. Even your gardener can help change the future.
Gollum's sacrifice was not willing.
That's right, Eravandi.
Frodo's was, whether he died or not.
But that's just the reminder that Gollum was alive and in existence at that time.
Gollum was more like
Frodo
Judas. Frodo didn't die at Mount Doom, but he did lose his life in a way. He couldn't enjoy himself anymore. The price he paid for being a ring bearer and getting pierced by a Morgul blade.
Sarah's on deep cuts with Star Wars lore, suggesting that Anakin brought balance to the Force by killing all the Jedi. Oh my!
Gollum's
really?
greed led to his own demise.
That's a very interesting. Very interesting supposition.
There aren't a lot of like connections.
Our show tonight is jumping the train tracks completely between Lord of the Rings lore and Star Wars lore, and that's where we are. So welcome to our show.
I'm glad that you guys can keep up. I'm glad that our chat room here on Facebook and Ustream and YouTube can keep up between.
Yes, they are.
Jumping between these two things, because I think it's important, and I think if we're going to get any more Middle-earth films, we will get more Middle-earth films. I feel like everything that you just described, from the Star Wars cartoons, the television animated Star Wars cartoons of Qui-Gon coming back and teaching Yoda
showing
all that. Do you think Middle-earth stories should take that route now and explain and expand?
Yep. I would be very happy to see an animated Middle-earth series. Do you know I'm an animation fan? Do you want
it to look current like Star Wars animation, or do you want it to go back to that 70s and 80s look?
Hey,
the Rankin
and
Bass.
I'm really very much...
Which is very creepy. Even as a kid, I remember looking... I never wanted to watch the Hobbit movie. Mom would try to put it on the Betamax, and I'd be like, no, those characters are creepy. And they're drawn gross. Like,
they were creepy, weird, interesting designs.
Yeah.
But this is the same animation studio that designed Silverhawks and Thundercats, which is one of your favorite things. You gotta admit, we love... there's direct Gollum design in Thundercats. There's like some Thundercats... There's a villain. What's his name? There's an evil villain in Thundercats that looks just like one of the goblins from the Rankin Bass animated one. But since you asked me the question, I'll give you the answer. You know what I would like as far as an animated world for animated series? I like what DC is doing. The DC animated universe is really cool. They do 2 movies a year. 2 animated movies a year, and they're like 75 or 80 minutes long. They're like
Is that what you want? Do you want Middle-earth?
They're really good. They're really
animated movies, or do you want a Middle-earth series where
you can cover an anthology of lots of different stories from the appendices?
Do you want it in 28-minute chunks, or do you want it in 75-minute chunks?
I'd like having 2 different movies a year, 2 different animated feature films a year.
What do you guys want? Would you like to see more of the dwarves? I would love to see an animated series, half-hour episodes of the story of the dwarves. They've retaken Erebor. Now they plan their attack to retake the mountain that the Fellowship go in. You know, the Balrog. What's it called?
Moria.
Moria.
Oh my God!
Like you've got 13 characters that you can get some amazing voice actors to play all these characters. You could probably even get Jed Brophy and a lot of the actual actors that played the dwarves to voice the animated
love
series.
That. William Kircher and Adam Brown.
That would be great to hear their voice.
John Callan. They would love to come and do that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I would love to see a 30-minute animated series where you could, like, all the dwarves doing their dwarven thing, like rebuilding Lake Town, forging new partnerships with Thranduil.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that part of Middle Earth.
Sure.
You know,
that's in the appendices.
And I don't think that should be a movie. I don't think Reclaiming Moria should be a movie.
Hell yeah. I think that'd be a great, cool, interesting movie. To see Balin take an expedition to Moria with Ori and everybody, all these people, these new characters could go along too, new dwarf characters. Oh, I'm so into that. And they could stop and visit familiar people like Beorn on their way over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so down for that. And yeah, Star Wars Rebels is way so awesome. Sarah Vorhauer, I agree with you on that.
Someone in the chat room says, I'd love to see a Skywalker who isn't pure human. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess that was the whole point of Anakin. If Anakin is the Immaculate Conception, he's as close to not human. I think she's talking about they would love to see a Skywalker that is an alien figure, but I think that's why I think Snoke has some connection to Anakin Skywalker, and it's the midichlorians like reinvigorating themselves as this character. And I think Anakin did bring balance to the Force. He killed all the Jedi. He killed all the baby Jedi. You know, and I think Anakin knows that to bring balance to the Force, they all gotta die.
When you watch the animated series, which you haven't yet,
no,
you will understand that there's a very specific couple of episodes where they explain the prophecy that Anakin is supposed to, according to Qui-Gon and others who believe that prophecy, that Anakin would restore balance to the Force, and they go into a trans-dimensional place outside the galaxy where the Force itself is personified in these ancient deities. And the Father, the All-Father, has a young daughter and a brother, and they are the dark and the light side of the Force. They are anthropomorphized personifications of the light and the dark, and Anakin is brought there to this extra-dimensional place where he meets these Force wielders. Remember, guys? The episode,
so you like this, but you don't like the personification of Shelob?
That episode with the Force wielders, when where Anakin is bringing balance between the Force, it explains everything in a bigger metaphysical way, and it's really kind of cool. It's really, really, really cool.
I don't feel that any Tolkien should be an HBO series.
Guess what? It's canon. That stuff I just mentioned
to you
is canon with the films.
That's what I'm
saying. The live-action films and the Marvel comic books.
There's a lot of people that say, I want to see a hard R Middle-earth series like Game of Thrones on HBO. And I think that's wrong. And I think
what's wrong with it? This Justice League Dark that I just watched was rated R for disturbing violence.
Tolkien should not be rated R.
Oh, if you haven't read the Silmarillion, buddy, then you don't know what you're saying. This stuff is more rated R. There is incest, horrors, torture, the grossest of gross. You think Game of Thrones has got the bloody R rating? Wait till you get to the Silmarillion. That's bloody R rated.
No,
there's all kinds of crazy mess
if you're
going
gonna play in the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings licensed world, not the Silmarillion, that's different.
Okay.
I think that was the big issue with The Hobbit. We've talked about this before. The Hobbit is a children's film. They wrote a funny script. They hired funny actors. They staged funny set pieces.
Yes.
They designed funny-looking orcs and funny-looking characters.
Until the later film.
And then they edited the movie as a dramatic film, and they scored the music for dramatic effects. There's nothing funny about the Hobbit trilogy. At no point does anyone laugh. Once they leave Bag End, no one laughs in any capacity inside the film, and we don't laugh as an audience. And I feel like that was the ultimate failure of The Hobbit, is that The Hobbit should have been funny. The book is funny. It's written for funny. The book is written to make adults laugh along with their children as they're reading the book.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no humor in this, and I feel like an animated
most of the humor
series
is in An Unexpected Journey. All the humor is front-loaded in the first hour when they're in the Shire. in Bag
But
End.
even the whole book is funny as humorous moments. The fact that
Yeah.
at the end of the Hobbit book, the main character gets knocked out. I mean, there's so many funny ways to play around with that, and instead they don't. So I feel like making an HBO series of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings license is the wrong way to go. I think the right way to go is an animated, somewhat humorous, very adventurous, a lot of great drama, and myth building.
I will second that emotion. I will say an animated series would be on the top of my wish list. For this fan geek, this Lord of the Rings geek would love that. I would love an animated series.
Yeah, anything that they do with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit should be lighthearted.
The Lord of the Rings has so much material in the appendix, or multiple, the appendices in the back of Return of the King, and some of those stories are a bit more dramatic, and what happened to Elrond's wife, and what happens to Aragorn, and his exile. There's some serious stories there, and the Hunt for Gollum, which has been made into a successful fan film.
The quest for Moria.
Those are things that I would dig as a whole, animated anthology series of
Balin
different
and
things
Ori,
like that.
the oldest of the dwarves and the youngest scribe of the dwarves.
Yeah.
The oldest and the youngest teaming up to reclaim Moria, and everyone's like, "You guys go do you, man. I ain't going to."
No, they took a whole party of dwarves to recolonize.
But not none of the 13.
Only a few, I think. Only a few of the original 13
Yeah,
went
so
with them.
Balin and Ori, Adam Brown voicing.
No, I think Boffer might have gone too. Boffer.
Well, that's even better. Boffer's one of the funniest. He had the most opportunity to have the best jokes.
Yeah, and
in the movie.
I don't know if Biffer went too, but at least he had his axe taken out of his head at this point. That never happened in the book, by the way. But yeah okay. You know what? Yeah. I'll look it up. I don't have my copy of my appendix with me.
Any announcement of further Tolkien works from the Warner Brothers Studios, I would be cautiously optimistic.
I would be optimistic
unless it was they announce a cartoon series, an animated series. Then I'm all on board. I'm totally on board with an animated series.
I would love for it to not be CGI, but for it to be real beautiful 2D
animation. I don't care if it's CGI or regular. Make it accessible and make it good and make it highly designed. I love that the Star Wars. I've never seen the Star Wars animated, but I love that it's designed. They don't try to look like the movies.
Yeah.
It's got a very, very specific style, and Tolkien deserves a very specific style. And you know what? Let Weta do the design style. Speaking of Weta, now that we've talked about that, there's so many other things happening. First off, if you watch The Late Show tonight with Stephen Colbert,
I don't want to forget to tune in tonight.
Stephen Colbert has guest Luke Evans.
Luke Evans.
So it is a Lake Town reunion tonight on The Late Show. It is 6:15 here, so it's 9:15. So you're about two hours away on the East Coast from seeing The Late Show, Lake Town reunion with Stephen Colbert and Luke Evans. So that's going to be exciting. Luke Evans also just announced. Luke Evans is going to be in Luc Besson's new movie.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. What if...
Is Luc Besson going to be given another movie after the huge failure of Valerian?
Absolutely. The Valerian made its money back before it was even released.
I know it did. I know it did. With its overseas deals.
So what if La Femme Nikita met Leon, the professional?
Oh, that sounds cool.
And what if Luke Evans
is
a young Leon?
Oh, what? Really?
What? Yes,
what?
It's happening.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And
really?
Luke Evans is promoting his new feature film right now. It's about the history of the writer that created Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. So Luke Evans' new film, which has a weird name called Professor Marsden and the Wonder Women or something.
Marsden.
Yeah, something like that.
See.
So Luke Evans' new film is basically a biographical drama about the creation of Wonder Woman, the character, and all the trials and tribulations of getting Wonder Woman published. The reason why...
My sister's frozen. My
Oh,
poor sister
dear.
is frozen.
You're
And
frozen.
I don't mean a Disney frozen. You've frozen my sister.
Look, so the reason I want everybody
Sorry,
to
Sid.
see this movie with Luke Evans about the creation of Wonder Woman is because there are 2 feature films in development about Tolkien creating Middle-earth.
That's right. Yes, there are.
So if you want to know where Hollywood is at when it comes to telling the story of how writers create characters that are beloved worldwide, this is your first taste. And I want to know everyone's feedback. I want to know your feedback. I want to know your feedback of Luke Evans's movie about making Wonder Woman, because there are 2 Tolkien movies in development.
Yeah.
And coming out of this Luke Evans film, does that make us more excited for the possibilities of Tolkien, the 2 Tolkien movies, or does it make us cautious about how they tell Tolkien's story? Because Tolkien will be played by the kid that was the Beast in the new X-Men movies.
Yeah, what's his name? Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, Nicholas
It's
Hoult is
Tolkien.
and he was obviously also in Mad Max: Fury Road as one of the
As the
central
kid, as the main
central
kid,
characters.
yeah.
God, I love those Mad Max.
So
movies.
that's why it's really important to, if you can go see this small film about the Wonder Woman with Luke Evans.
I'm gonna look it up
And
right
because
now
that'll give you a taste of the 2 Tolkien films coming out.
because it still is the 75th anniversary of Wonder Woman.
That's right.
Which is why the film was released earlier this year. And, oh, look, there's that new poster for The Last Jedi.
That's right.
Wow, I love that new red and white poster.
Everybody
That
says
red
I
and white
want
poster is
those
really good.
Tolkien films so bad. Yeah, but
You guys, raise your hands if you would like to see something similar to the DC animated movies that come out twice a year. Would you like to have feature-length animated films
we already talked
dropping in? None. I didn't see anybody in the live chat say yet. What I'm hoping.
Yeah, they
Would you
were
guys like to see
constantly
some of those? Because I think that'd be really, really cool. Luke
So-
Evans, Dracula Untold. Oh, see, that was a franchise launch that didn't happen.
I know,
Right.
and now Universal Studios is retconning Luke Evans out of the Dark Universe. So that Tom Cruise Mummy movie, which is part of the new Universal Dark Universe, which they originally said Luke Evans
Yep.
was going to be
It's
multi-picture.
Professor Marston and the Wonder Women.
Professor Marston and the Wonder Women.
And the Wonder Women.
If
yeah,
you
Professor
can,
Marston
if
and
it's
the Wonder
playing
Women.
near you, go check it out. Speaking of making films and telling stories,
Yes.
we should remind people that there's a ton of stories, and I hope nothing reflects negatively on our beloved Lord of the Rings films and Hobbit films. But there's all these stories in the news right now of producer Harvey Weinstein.
Oh boy.
And we don't have to explain everything. You can go read on it if you want. It's pretty disgusting.
the scandal is a scandal.
It's very disgusting. But the fact is, Harvey Weinstein is the executive producer of all Middle-earth films.
Harvey
All
Weinstein
Lord of
is
the Rings and
currently on a
all
plane
Hobbit.
leaving the country. He's currently just left the United States tonight to go to a sex offender rehabilitation clinic in Europe, was what I just read on Twitter.
Lily Collins is cast as Tolkien's wife.
I love Lily Collins. She's one
Oh
of my
my
favorite
gosh.
actresses. Yeah, I like Lily Collins a lot.
So I don't know if we're
She's
gonna
really
hear
good.
anything about. I don't know if any stories will come out. I hope not. But
He's charged with sexual harassment and sexual misconduct and
worse than that,
rape. Actual rape charges.
way
against
beyond
Harvey
everything like that.
Weinstein.
So
The
anyway,
guy who bought an Oscar for Shakespeare in Love when it should not have won that year
they've won many. They've won
for
many.
Best Picture.
Yeah, but so
Beating Titanic, right? They beat Titanic by
Yeah. So he
Best Picture.
is the executive producer. The Hobbit would not have happened without Harvey Weinstein, and in fact, The
Yes.
Lord of the Rings would not have got 3 movies. When he optioned The Lord of the Rings with Peter Jackson attached,
Mm-hmm.
Peter Jackson pitched Harvey. He
It
signed
was
up.
Bob Shea who said make 3.
But
Bob Shea, not-
Harvey took it to his studio and said, "We need to finance 3 movies." And,
In the beginning, yes.
And his studio, I believe it was Miramax, and I believe they had a deal with Disney at the time, but they could not get the funding. No one wanted to give Harvey Weinstein the money for 3 movies. And so Harvey went to Peter and said, I am giving you the option to take it somewhere else. If you can find someone else that will finance all 3 movies, they basically bet the farm, bet the whole studio on 3 movies. I feel like this is the way to do it. So Harvey could have, like, the contracts were signed. This was legit. Yeah. Harvey had Peter locked down to 2 movies. And then he said, you know what? This deserves 3 books, 3 movies. Go take it somewhere else. And that's what he did.
And Bob Shaye said,
and Bob Shaye and Michael Lynn at New Line said, you know what? We'll commit to 3 movies. And so they made a deal, and they basically,
by pre-selling,
they bought
foreign territories.
They bought out.
They pre-sold all the foreign territories the way that Valerian filmmaker Luc Besson did. Yes, got that financing done.
So I wonder if I wonder if they're going to keep Harvey Weinstein's name in any of the credits. And I wonder, have we seen his name in the credits? Because he does get a piece every time that movie is shown, and every DVD that is sold, Harvey Weinstein gets paid.
Yep, I see his credits. It's at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings every time.
It is. That's right. Will they keep that? Will they keep his name on the movies, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit? There was another lawsuit a couple years ago where Harvey Weinstein sued Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers claimed that Harvey is entitled to a certain percentage of the gross for any movie based on or significantly about Bilbo Baggins. And the theory that was posited was that Warner Brothers intentionally changed the last 2 movies, Desolation of Smaug and Battle of the Five Armies, to be less about Bilbo. And it really is less about Bilbo. It's more about everybody else. It's about Thorin. It's about Luke Evans. It's about everything else. And so they argued that because Bilbo is less than 40% of the storyline of the last 2 Hobbit movies, then Harvey Weinstein is not entitled to his share.
I didn't hear that before, really. So they did this kind of maneuvering in the editing room of the film, and the film itself changed to satisfy a contractual agreement to squeeze Harvey Weinstein out of it?
And that's why
Where did you read this?
That's why all the fans are like, this is a movie called The Hobbit about a hobbit named Bilbo. Where is Bilbo? Where is Bilbo? Everyone that saw the last 2 Hobbit movies were like, where's the Bilbo story? This is supposed to be about Bilbo. Where are we following 2 hours worth of Thorin?
Yeah. Okay, this is
Harvey Weinstein said the same thing. He's like, where's Bilbo? I gave you the option to make movies about this, and I'm entitled to.
Are you saying they took Harvey's name, Weinstein's name, off of the last 2
I'm
Hobbit
saying
films?
That Warner Brothers argued that that they didn't owe Harvey Weinstein any money.
Oh, I see.
For the second and third movie.
Oh.
Because the second and third movie were not about Bilbo.
Intriguing.
It's funny how things are. I mean, we could do a whole episode about lawsuits against Warner Brothers and Lord of the Rings. Remember when the entire cast of Lord of the Rings sued Warner Brothers because they got paid a couple $100,000 and got no piece of the action after it made $100 million?
Oh my gosh. I'm looking at the producer credits for The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Carolyn Blackwood, executive producer. Philip Boyens, co-producer. Carolyn Cunningham, producer.
So
Matt Dravitsky, our friend, associate producer. Peter Jackson, producer. Eileen Moran, co-producer. Amanda Walker, associate producer. Fran Walsh, producer, lead, because we love Fran. And of course the big guy on campus who replaced
Ordesky.
No, he replaced Ordesky and the big bearded gentle giant.
Oh, that's right.
It was Zane Weiner who replaced.
I think it's Zane Weiner.
Is it Zane Weiner? Yeah, he replaced.
So when you hear about these stories, when you hear about his name is in the press a lot. Harvey Weinstein. Everyone will talk about how he produced all these independent films, all of Kevin Smith's films.
Yeah.
All of these independent Shakespeare in Love and these very small genre films. No, he didn't just do those small films. He is responsible for Lord of the Rings and helping package Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit together. In fact, Harvey Weinstein used his muscle to get The Hobbit made. The rumors are that he was in the room when MGM was having all those issues and Guillermo del Toro had to leave. Like that's when Harvey Weinstein kind of came in. And,
if you're going to take a person, since someone is raising up the specter of removing names from credits, you'd have to go back into all these old films and all these old DVDs, and what are you going to do? No, I mean, you'd have to have a new copy or a new negative.
Look, they're going to re-release these movies 100 different ways. I guarantee you, every re-release of Lord of the Rings will have a tweak. Because up to now, every re-release has had a tweak. They changed the color grading on some scenes. They fixed this little thing. You know this. How many times have they re-released Lord of the Rings on Blu-ray and DVD, and how many different versions have we seen? Every one of them has had a little tweak. All of them.
Wow. Pete says he went to high school with Eileen Moran. She was a very cool woman who died too young. Yes, indeed.
Oh, really?
That is true. Well, I looked through the cast list of all the Hobbit movies, and Weinstein does not have his his name. Harvey Weinstein does not evidently have his name on the credits of the Hobbit movies. But when you put in...
Yes, Chantel Roberts says, I didn't like how the Hobbit movies were more about the dwarves.
Yeah, well...
And now you know. Harvey Weinstein also said, hey, why is these movies more about the dwarves? This is called The Hobbit. It's supposed to be about The Hobbit. It's supposed to be about Bilbo.
Yep.
And Warner Brothers said, well, it's not about Bilbo. We changed it, so we don't owe you as much.
Yeah, look who's there. Michael Lynn, Mark Odesky, Barry Osborne.
Barry Osborne.
That was my friend. I can't remember.
Barry Osborne. Didn't he do Pete's Dragon?
Jamie Selkirk. And did Pete
Barry Osborne has always been good to us.
Bob and Harvey at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Bob and Harvey at the bottom of Fellowship of the Ring list of
if you go to the IMDb page for Lord of the Rings, any of the Lord of the Rings films, go to the producers list, and you'll see their names.
Interesting. So the Weinsteins did not have their names on The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Seth says credit should not be removed for anyone who genuinely contributed to something, no matter what they did or didn't in the future. I agree. Look, you can't.
I agree
lots
too.
Of stuff. Everything from Jimmy Savile to everybody has a bad side. Everybody's got dirt in their closet. The history of Hollywood is dirty. You know.
How much does a John Wayne Gacy original clown artwork sell for?
Yeah.
In the secondary marketplace.
So I don't think the name should be taken off no matter what they did in their elsewhere. I think we have this. You got to separate the creative process from the personal lives of these people. So I feel like
they're not taking the credits off of Jeepers Creepers. Victor Salva, convicted child molester, director Victor Salva.
That's right.
They're not taking his name off of Powder or Jeepers Creepers, the movie franchise that he launched.
Yeah.
No, they're still got his name on it. He still made those films. Hate him or not. Yeah. That's funny, Pete. Very. Good night, Eravandi.
Janet says, Cliff, check Variety from 2014 to see about the lawsuit. So,
okay, cool. Yes.
Anyway,
look that up.
There's a lot going on. Look, this week it was also Guillermo del Toro's birthday. I believe he's 53 years old.
Dude,
Happy
awesome.
birthday, Guillermo.
Guillermo del Toro was tweeting pictures of a taco truck down by the El Segundo freeway.
There were some comments that were negative against Guillermo del Toro.
When?
And they felt that The Hobbit would have been even worse with Guillermo. I disagree.
Wait until you see The Shape of Water and then come back with that comment.
I can't wait.
Wait until you see The Shape of Water.
Look, Guillermo is a visionary, creative filmmaker.
He's a master filmmaker.
The Hobbit would have been his opus. The Hobbit with Guillermo would have been like Peter Jackson and Lord of the Rings. He was meant to make those films.
Would have been interesting.
Guillermo was meant to make The Hobbit with all the creatures and the giant dragons and the orcs and the goblins
and it would have been
and the shape-shifting
set, not 3.
And it would have and we would have had a better Bjorn, like he was meant to make those movies. So anyway, happy birthday to Guillermo del Toro. Remember to check out The Late Show with Stephen Colbert tonight.
It'll be fun.
And
thank you for reminding me about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you guys, thank you for joining us. As always, Thank you, thank you. All these cameras back up there. I'm looking at all the different cameras that are covering us. Sorry if you
Yeah,
had
but
any,
Guillermo brought in Toriel. Yeah, but Toriel was totally different. In fact, Evangeline Lilly told us that the script she signed up for, the script that she signed her autograph to film,
was different.
did not have anything about a love triangle. Had nothing about falling in love, and definitely didn't have any damsel in distress. So
Indeed.
the reshoots changed her character. So let's not blame Guillermo del Toro for a character that no one likes. It was the execution of that character. I think she would have been beloved, strong hero that everybody wanted.
Yes, Pete, tonight's show did fly by. That was a
So-
quick 90-minute show.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it's so good. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific from Meltdown Comics in Hollywood. If you're ever in LA, come to Meltdown because it is it's the best.
Come and visit us here at
It's the
Meltdown.
best. They just did a
Marfels,
a
the answer
release
is that
party.
Luke Evans is going to show up on Stephen Colbert tonight.
That's
Luke
right.
Evans.
Luke Evans. It's
yes.
a Lake Town reunion. I bet you they're going to have some Tolkien jokes.
They will. Oh, that's a very good joke.
I just love when Colbert drops those little Tolkien jokes. I guarantee you that you're going to see some tonight.
I'm so down for this.
So-
I'm so down for this.
You can follow him.
Hey, you can
on
follow me
Twitter.
on Twitter and on Instagram at QuickBeam2000. QUICKBEAM. QuickBeam2000.
And if you follow us on Instagram, you can see that we're doing a month's worth of bad posting. We call it Sauronween. So we're finding all the evil on the internet that's related to Tolkien, and we're posting it on our Instagram. So make sure you follow
Sauron
us.
Halloween month.
Sauronween.
Oh my gosh.
Sauron's Halloween month. So anything evil that we can find related to Middle Earth, we'll try to post it.
Oh my gosh, this is
30
gonna be
days of
hilarious.
Sauronween. It's so much fun.
It's a pleasure to do this
And-
show with you, sir. Thank you for co-hosting with me
Every
today.
week, this is so much fun.
You guys, check it out. This is theonering.net, and it's our Torn Tuesday live stream that we love bringing to you. Happy 40th anniversary to the Silmarillion. Yes, again, loving that. And to all of you out there who are really looking for deep cuts, get it. The Atlas of Middle-earth by Karen Wynne Fonstad. The best thing you'll ever get, and it will bring you closer to Tolkien than you'll ever thought possible. You'll love it. Hey, love you guys. Thanks and good night. Bye.